So here's the thing. Like most competitive shooters, I've got a problem with leaving well enough alone. Chasing down performance, reliability, and practicality became obsessive for me once I started LARPing around in the tactical games. I'm Shawn with Team JP, and today we're going to cover the evolution of my tactical games rifle. To do that, we're going to step back to 2019 when the tactical games became relevant in my life. They had a rule set that wasn't quite established yet, other than you should have a tactical rifle that was mostly factory setup. Now, having this JP-15 with a PSC-11 side charge upper, it seemed like a good platform to start out on. To abide by their rules, we threw a non-magnified optic, backup irons, and made sure to have a full mass carrier in there, per the rule set at that time. Now, being a 3-gun rifle, it has a lot of added performance features that they were maybe overkill based on the target presentations and the distance of those engagements back then. 16-inch competition profile barrel with a tunable gas block, JP thermal dissipator, and we've got a silent captured spring in here and the JP fire control group. All of these performance options definitely come at a cost of weight. And what I quickly learned with the tactical games is it's not like 3-gun where you're shooting 30 to 45 seconds and you don't care if you have a 9.5 pound rifle. You've got this thing slung on your back and you're going to carry it with you for 10 to 12 minutes typically, maybe even longer. It gets tiring really fast. So taking that lesson learned, it was time to shave a little bit of weight. And moving into our second iteration. Now things got a little interesting with this guy. We decided that because your muzzle devices could be a flash hider or suppressor, well, why not throw a suppressor on there to try and combat some of the muzzle rise, some of the shooter disruption, give me a little bit better feedback on target impacts because we were shooting mostly steel when I started. We also went down to a 10.5-inch barrel. Hey, if I'm only shooting 150 yards, I don't need 16 inches. I don't really care about that velocity, so it seemed like an easy move. Most of the guys were shooting pistols, and I wanted to avoid both having a pistol brace because it just doesn't have the support that I need, as well as I didn't want to go the SBR route because I just don't want to deal with the paperwork when I travel. So a pin suppressor to get to 16 inches, it seemed like a pretty good idea at the time. It also seemed like a good idea in practice. Everything about the rifle, I loved it. It shoots great, it performs great. Out to 400 yards, I'm still getting impacts, but the velocity drops off quite a bit. So there's a little bit of a downfall. Now, enter the match situation. After thorough testing on my part, you start to uncover the things that you wish you would have learned sooner. And the biggest detriment to this is no matter what I try to do to mitigate the heat coming off of this, putting a heat shroud on there, it just became an issue. I had a lot of mirage coming off the suppressor, and no matter how diligent I was with it, the suppressor found opportunities to brand me in places that I'd rather not talk about. So while this is cool, suppressors definitely have their place in the tactical world, in hunting and other applications. If you want to be competitive in the tactical games, I just found this to be too much of a liability on the clock. And, I just kind of want to pretend that never happened. You'll also notice, though, we moved over to a low-power variable optic, which was an introduction in 2020, I believe, that you could run magnified or unmagnified. At the time I ran this one, they did still require offset irons, which are not currently on this gun, but they were deployed and they did work for the most part. Taking everything I learned competing in a match with this suppressed rifle, I kind of decided to skip that ever happened and go back to the original rifle. And, let's shave some weight. Let's keep velocity up as much as possible. Let's stick with a simple muzzle device. I went with a 14.5-inch ultralight barrel. I'm using JP's newer M-Lock handguard, which it offers a lot of weight savings as well as maneuverability with barricades, VTAC ports, and things of that nature. Being able to configure it's also pretty awesome. So this rifle, the way it's configured, I found it to be incredibly versatile, really accurate, and pretty much everything I needed with a rifle. You figure, why go any further from that point if it's everything you need? There's still some room for improvement from my standpoint. I'm used to a heavier front end on a rifle. It just didn't balance the way that I'm used to as far as recoil handling that, holding the rifle. I hate to say it, but it was too light, and that's probably going to come back to haunt me. But that's where the opportunity came in to work with JP and have them build me out similar rifle. But for this guy, we went with a 13.5-inch light contour barrel with a pin flash hider on here to take me to 16 inches. So I gained a little bit of weight over this one. And I got the balance that I was looking for. I didn't lose much velocity going to a 13.5-inch. It shoots amazing, out to 400 yards. You know, I've got full confidence in this, even a little bit further, but things get a little tricky depending on what ammunition you're using. I stuck with a low mass operating system. We've still got the JP silent captured spring, and we went with a flat face JP trigger. And of course, because I'm running the plate carrier, I found the Magpul K2 grip to be pretty much the perfect angle for the way I like to hold my rifle. And because I gained a little bit of weight up front, I was able to move back over to a traditional rifle stock that gives me more positive shoulder contact and a nice consistent cheek weld, increasing my ability to put rounds on target. You'll notice as well that the Vortex 1-10 is on this rifle, and that started because it was actually a weight savings over my 1-6. And you know, I've just fallen in love with this optic because I've got 1-10 range. First focal plane is also a huge bonus. But outside my initial practice sessions, testing, and skirmishes we run here, I'm excited to put this rifle into a match scenario and see how it performs. So there you have it, my progression through 4, well, let's call it 3 rifles to get to where ultimately I'm confident and comfortable with the platform that I'm using now. If I were to start from scratch, you know, the criteria I'd be looking for is a lighter weight rifle. Definitely a rifle over a pistol because I appreciate having a nice solid stock and cheek weld, you know, rather than fighting with the pistol braces. And I just find, you know, a rifle balances better, and with the distances they're going to be pushing in the tactical games, a little bit longer configuration, as long as it stays lightweight, is going to be the way to go. If you guys got any questions about these rifles, how they're built, why they were built, or what the specific configuration parts are, hit up the comments. We'll be sure to address those as they come through. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys at the range.